On Tuesday, October 7th, the Planning Board continued its hearing on the proposed multifamily development at 100 West Street. The project would bring 189 new housing units to Needham. Developer Greystar returned with updates and responses to several concerns raised at the last meeting, from parking to rodent control. Municipal producer Yu Xiao Yuan reports.
Parking continues to be one of the top concerns surrounding the project. At the previous hearing, residents pushed back on the developer's request to waive 3 parking spaces in favor of more green space. Now, Greystar says it plans to restore those spaces, bringing the total to 189 or 1 parking per unit. In a memo to the Planning Board dated October 2nd, Greystar estimated a parking utilization rate of 80 to 90%, leaving about 19 spaces available overnight. Development Director Tim Biner added similar developments typically see only 3 to 5 guest parking requests each day.
In order to have a guest park in our parking spaces, the resident would need to come to the leasing office and register that parking space so that we know that they are parking in there. They get a flyer or something to indicate that they are a guest and the dates that they will be staying, right? So it's not like a guest can come and park for 6 weeks or whatever it may be.
But not everyone is convinced. Board member Justin McCullen questioned whether the projection reflects Needham's transportation reality, noting that local bus and train service is not practical for traveling within town, which could lead to more cars than expected.
I think parking spaces are going to become an issue, especially when it comes down to parking on these other streets. I would rather find a place to keep the cars on the space, to keep more cars in space rather than out on Morton Street or other areas.
Attorney Tim Sullivan said while zoning restrictions leave little room to reconfigure parking for employees could remain flexible.
We could explore whether there's an opportunity to park some of those employees during the day off-site.
Warren Street resident Ken Buckley also expressed doubts about the estimates, especially given that on-site parking will not be free.
That ratio is a bit fictitious, I'm going to put it that dramatically, and therefore will in fact cause off-site parking, which many of the neighborhood residents are concerned about.
Mellon Street resident Frank Flynn said his earlier concerns about cut-through traffic were not addressed.
There was an issue of mine last week, and it hasn't been mentioned, the idea of traffic going up Morton, Mellon, and Carey Streets to avoid Highland Avenue.
Greystar representatives said they plan to focus on resident education to help manage both parking and traffic concerns.
Part of their welcome package, it will be well known that you cannot park on any streets, that you cannot cross onto Morton out of that exit. We will also have at the front at the entrance of our building, where I should say at the exit of our building, we typically have a TV that shows when trains and all of that are coming so that people know. That will include a sign that says you cannot park overnight, you cannot park on the street.
Greystar also changed the delivery location from the front of the building to the back and outlined several steps to prevent rodent problems.
We dedicate one area to where subcontractors are allowed to eat. This is important because you don't want food all over your site. That's where issues start to arise. So we dedicate a certain area with certain bins that are dedicated for just food that are emptied on a daily basis. We'll have daily cleaning, right? We don't want to leave wood, cardboard, anything around that could potentially become a nest. We will have rodent-resistant dumpsters, garbage bins wherever we can.
Other issues raised included construction hours. Elizabeth Caponia of Highland Terrace said she hopes to avoid the noise and disruption she experienced at Needham Gateway.
Let's say you could start construction at 7 a.m. Well, the trucks started coming in at 6:30. And they had their engines going, they were dragging over open metal fences, they were talking loud. So that had to be stopped, but that took quite a while. So maybe we can preempt these kind of problems, nip them in the bud so they don't occur.
The Planning Board closed the public hearing but left the record open for additional comments from the town's engineering department on the traffic study. For Needham Channel News, I'm Yu Xiao Yuan.